All right, 4.6a quadratic formula is the first part of a three-part lesson. Where what we're going to do today is pretty much review the quadratic formula. Yes, I said review, and consider methods to calculate ugly combinations using your calculator. You did learn this in chapter 9, actually 9.6 if you want to look up the Sshsmath part question. So it's Sshsmath 9.6, or you could just go to my teacher page on YouTube and type in 9.6 into the search, and that should bring up the video you're looking for. Again, that's where I actually went over everything. But again, let's start with the calculator portion, because you've seen this, it's kind of like a conversation just to bring things back to memory and cover the parts you need to know. Your calculator does the order of operations even when you don't notice it. Consider typing the following problem into your calculator, which people tend to do this way, and please don't do this on your later when it counts, but I'm just showing you what people tend to do. They tend to type 12 plus 8 divided by 4 and get the answer of 14, and then they write the answer and they're happy to do that. But here's the question, or here's the thing. We are experienced enough to know that you're supposed to do 12 plus 8 first. 12 plus 8 is actually 20, and 20 divided by 4 is actually 5. So where'd the 14 come from is that your calculator actually did 8 divided by 4 first, because that is the order of operations, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. 2 plus 12 made you 14. So you want to be careful whenever you plug something like this into your calculator, because this particular calculator and any calculator that doesn't have a numerator denominator function like this does is going to cause you an issue. Again, on this one you can do 12 plus 8 specifically on the top, 4 specifically on the bottom, and get the proper answer. But if it does not have the fraction button, which this does not have the fraction button, you need to be careful whenever you type that in. So we'll talk about that actually as we talk about this really quickly. Again, unfortunately your calculator doesn't have a function to recognize the top portion like the other one, and that leaves us with two options. Either use parentheses, which is where you say I'm going to put the top portion in parentheses and divide it by 4, which gives me the answer 5. And the other one is to use the calculator memory. Now what does that mean? I'm sure you've done this before on your own, which is the way I do it is to type in the top portion, hit enter, and anytime you get an answer, that stores in the calculator's short-term memory, which means once I get that answer, I can now do divided by 4 and type in the second part, which is your 5. The best way, again, I found is to use the calculator memory, because using parentheses can get kind of tricky, especially whenever you have parentheses inside of there some more. So a few examples real fast, and I think my sheet didn't print out correctly, but I think you can still follow along with what's going on here. Looking at the first one here, sorry it's hard to read, but you can see it on your part there. But again, what I would do if I saw this question, let's say it's a difficult one, is I would just type in the top, so negative 2.3 plus second x squared, so square root 10.94. And again, the reason I would not use a parenthesis is because what you don't recognize is that this already opens, so one parenthesis would actually just do this and still throw you off. But what I would do is hit enter and then put divided by negative 5.29, which gives me the answer of negative 0.19. So again, what I did was type in the top negative 2.3 plus square root of 10.94 equals, which gives me my number, and then divide by negative 5.29, which gives me that answer there. Same thing here on the second one. Again, trying to get it somewhere where I can read it without that glare. I just cover it up. But again, on the second one, I would just do the 5.71 minus square root 235.17, enter, because again that brings me that top number down to one chunk, divided by 6.91, which gives me the answer of negative 1.39. I'm not sure if I rounded the other one correctly, but I'm sure you saw what you needed to see. And then C, now this is the one you're actually going to see, which is 18 plus or minus all this stuff. You can't do plus or minus in your calculator, so what you do is just two answers. So you'll do 18 plus square root of 33 equals, divided by 13 equals, and get 1.82. I'm sorry, 1.83. Let me round appropriately. And then you would do 18 minus square root of 33 equals divided by 13 and get the answer of 0.94. So again, make sure you know how to get those answers on your own, because at some point you will face a problem where you have ugly numbers in the quadratic formula, and it'll actually help you out to be able to figure out what the answer is. So the quadratic formula itself is x equals negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, based on the standard form that we've seen, which is ax squared bx and c. So again, this letter goes here and here, this goes here and here, and c goes out there. You should have some experience with the quadratic formula. If not, be sure to see me as much as you need to so that I can help you build your foundation. I again have found a lot of success using different processes, and the one I've used for the quadratic formula, and if you've used it, because I know a lot of you have, but if you've used it, keep doing it your way, because as long as your way works, you found your way. But for those who don't, I break it into 3 parts. I simplify the negative b portion, which for me is this. Then I simplify the b squared minus 4ac portion. Then I simplify the 2a portion. So I view it as 1, 2, 3 parts, and then I go from there. Approaching it that way seemed to make the values less intimidating and more manageable, and in many cases you have to simplify the root. So if so, remember that you must be able to simplify all 3 parts whenever that happens. So in this problem here, if I was to simplify the root to be 6 root 10, notice that 8, 6, and 4, because there are 3 parts here, can all be divided by 2, which means that this needs to be simplified to be negative 4 plus or minus 3 root 10 all over 2. You cannot touch the inside number because there is no inside number to deal with that, but again, your outside numbers 8, 6, and 4 can all be reduced by cutting them in half. In the other one, 24 plus or minus 16 root 3 over 32, again, all these can be divided by 8, so you would turn into 3 plus or minus 2 root 3 all over 4 would be how you would work that one. And then the third one, 6 plus or minus root 22 over 4. This is the one that some of us think we can do, but we cannot. It's simplified because there is no number outside of the root. Again, I understand 22 is even, but remember we cannot touch the 22. And so what we would need is a number here that could actually go, and so you would have to leave this alone. You cannot reduce the 6 and the 4 because you need a third number to reduce all 3 of them with. So again, please don't disregard that third number if something like that happens, because otherwise it's going to cost you points and frustration, all kinds of stuff. So let's get to the quadratic formula before moving on to the homework for the day. Typically the way I do it, again, if you've got your own system, stay with it because you found a way to get your answers, which is great. But what I usually do is I identify my A, B, and C off to the side so I don't have to look for them. A is 4, B is negative 9, C is negative 16 based off of your A, B, and C here. I then write the formula, so negative B plus or minus square root of B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. I then substitute using parentheses, so negative parentheses negative 9 plus or minus square root of parentheses negative 9 minus 4 parentheses 4 parentheses negative 16 all over 2 parentheses 4. Now so far I've done no algebra. All I've done is identify A, B, and C, write the formula, and then use these 2 things to use parentheses and substitute. This is where I said I do my 3 parts. I simplify the negative b, which will turn into a 9. I simplify the inside by simply typing in the inside exactly the way it is. So parentheses negative 9, notice I am not doing the square root, minus 4, 4, negative 16, which gives me 247, all over, simplify the bottom, 8. Now this might be my answer, but I need to do some checks real quick. So 247 doesn't divide by 4. This is why I use those numbers I told you. 247 divided by 9, nope. 247 divided by 25, we obviously know is a no. 247 divided by 49, nope. 247 divided by 121, nope. And I didn't have to check all those, but again, that's kind of what you need to do whenever you do that. The reason I wanted you to memorize 4, 9, 25, 49, and 121 is because usually by the time you get to 121, if the number doesn't simplify, it's not going to simplify unless it's a perfect number, which I don't think 247 is. Let's check that too. And it's not. So again, that would be all you'd have to do on that part. Actually, on your computer, you'd have to type in 9 plus root 247 over 8 and 9 minus root 247 over 8. For B, again on this one, first thing I do, and again whatever system you use, just figure out your own method and use that over and over, because again, however it gets you the answer, stick with it. And even though somebody will say, well, you're taking a lot of time to write the formula and write A, B, and C, but that way I'm not doing anything in my memory or from my memory, because everything I'm doing is directly the way it's supposed to be, where I can actually see it and know it's solid where it's supposed to be. Did I square that B squared on the other one? I don't think I did. Shame on me. Back to A. Should be -9 squared minus 4 parentheses 4 parentheses -16, which is 337. Don't forget to put that squared there, please. Great way for me to teach you is to mess up right in front of you. But either way, 337 I don't think breaks down either. I know it doesn't go into 25 and it doesn't go into 49. I'm pretty sure it doesn't go into 121, or 121 doesn't go into it. So sorry about that. That would be 9 plus or minus root 337 over 8, which again I'm pretty sure somebody noticed and might have talked to me about already. Again, here we go. B squared minus 4a, which is 9, c, which is 5, all over 2a, which is 2 times 9. Simplify the first part, which turns into 15. Simplify the second part correctly this time, of course, which is -15 squared minus 4 times 9 times 5, which is 45, all over 18. From there, I think we should know, again, 4, 9, 25, 49, 9 goes into 45, so I'll go off to the side and say this is 9 times 5, which means that comes out as 15 plus or minus 3 root 5 over 18. And again, if you were to stop there or here, it's wrong, because notice 15, 3, and 18 can all be divided by 3. So your final answer is 5 plus or minus root 5, because that would be gone, all over 6. And that would be that. The last question is the ugly one. A is 1.29, B is 6.24, C is -3.9. Now, this question does say round to the nearest hundreds, but I'm pretty sure you understand if you get ugly numbers like this, there is no way you're going to get a nice answer, and that you probably have to round it anyway. So we get negative parentheses 6.24 plus or minus 6.24 squared minus 4, 1.29, -3.9, all over 2 times 1.29. Simplifying the first gives me a -6.24. Again, let's see what's on the inside of this thing. 6.24 squared minus 4, parentheses 6.24 squared minus 4 times 1.29 -3.9 equals, and I would put that whole number in there, 59.0616 for the sake of accuracy, all over, I think that's 2.58. That's what happens when you mess up, lose your confidence. And so again, this is where I told you might want to learn how to use a calculator here, because this is tough to type in if you don't understand. So let's do what we do. -6.24 plus square root of 59.0616 equals, because remember you want to get the top together, divided by 2.58, which is 0.56. And then you have -6.24 minus 59 point, -6.24 minus square root of 59.0616 equals divided by 2.58. So your second answer is -5.38. And that would be your two solutions. That is where we go. You have a short day today, so make sure to get as much as you can out of this stuff. Practice your quadratic formula. We'll get further into this stuff later. But other than that, go ahead and go to your Math XL and get some practice. Hopefully you do better than I did in terms of making those silly mistakes. Good luck.